Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I have a very exciting video to share with you all. I placed a book order via eBay. Um, there was a little sale that I found online, specifically looking for a couple books, which led into getting a bunch more. And I figured just kind of go through them, share what I was picking up and what I'll hopefully be able to read. It'll take some time, but excited for all of these. So first, let's see what we got. First we have here, this is Miles Davis. It's an autobiography by the famous jazz musician. This I actually saw in a video by Red Fury Books. He seems to be a trumpeter himself and really highly recommended this one. Said that, Miles writing it himself, there's a lot of good sort of insight from his own life, really feels sort of almost as a novel. It doesn't read dry and biography, but really seems like something interesting. I really like listening to jazz and really thought, this would be a good way to sort of pick up some information on one of the most famous trumpeters of jazz of all time. So Miles Davis, here, his autobiography. Next, let's see what we have here. This is Leonard Bernstein, or Bernstein, as I've heard Ken Jennings say on Jeopardy before. This also is a biography by Humphrey Burton. As I mentioned, I like jazz, but I also like listening to classical music, and a lot of my favorite recordings come from the New York Philharmonic, and specifically conducted by Leonard Bernstein. And so, as I was trying to find some books to fill out this, BOGO deal, I thought, okay, I remembered I was looking at musicians, who do I like, reading about, listening to, and figured this would be a really cool option to kind of learn about his life. I know a little bit that he, was of, fairly poor Jewish upbringing, but then really sort of brought classical music, jazz, just to the people through radio, through these performances in New York. And so really kind of want to learn more about his life and all that he's done through music. Next, here we have Rubicon by Tom Holland. This is The Last Years of the Roman Empire. And this one I saw on Instagram from Michael Kist. He posts tons of really great videos, a lot on nonfiction, fantasy, horror, but really sort of am intrigued by, he seems like a genius when it comes to a lot of these nonfiction historical books, whether it's Roman, Greek, Russian, Asian history. So he said this is one of his favorites of all time. I really like, reading about mythology and Roman history and all these sorts of things. So figured, this would probably be a good one. Also to mention, all these books I've checked, they aren't at my library. I haven't seen them at any local bookstores. So thought, try and find some of these that I can't, pick up and just read in my own time to try and read. So I think Rubicon here will be a very interesting one to really kind of go into the fall of the Roman Empire, which I'm very excited to read as well. Next, let's see. Next we have one that looks very nice. This is a Jack London from the Library of Americas, and it's specifically novels and selected writings for the most part that I don't own. So that's what really sort of drew me to it. So for instance, it's The People of the Abyss, The Road, The Iron Heel, Martin Eden, and John Barleycorn, as well as some essays. The Martin Eden and John Barleycorn I do have in a Jack London collection, but specifically The Iron Heel is one I've seen people give very, very complimentary reviews of. And so when looking for just that on its own, it was basically the same price to get this very nice, hardcover, beautiful edition that has some other material as well. So excited to read these, add some more Jack London novels under my belt, as well as reading what I've seen some people say is his most underrated novel in The Iron Heel. So excited to get into this one soon. Next, I have something that I'll show in a second, but this is the Portable Jack Kerouac. And the reason I picked this one up is I remember my brother saying that I believe On the Road is his most famous novel, and it's just sort of this classic tale. You know, you have to love it, and so I believe it's within this edition, as well as a lot of other really good writing and stories from Jack Kerouac. My understanding, I haven't read any Jack Kerouac before, seems to remind me of Jon Krakauer, hint for later. And so really sort of picking up, you know, some of what he has to do, and in this nice edition, which matches, I also have already the Portable Jack London. Now I add the Portable Jack Kerouac to it. You know, they're both from the Viking Portable Library. And that also ties into another book I got called The Portable Thoreau. So Thoreau, I remember we read junior year in high school. I remember liking sort of his naturalistic writing style. And so just figured, you know, if I'm already kind of picking up some of these authors, I'll say mini collections, right? You know, they're put together, they're a nice amount of pages, got a lot of, you know, detail and written well. I've gone through a bit of the Jack London one, and it seems to be a good pieced together collection by a good editor. And so really think this would be kind of a fun one to browse through. Probably I'll read some of these other ones first, but kind of going through this one, I think definitely will be exciting. Then we have, as I mentioned earlier, we have classic Krakauer. So this is Jon Krakauer work. It's a lot of his sort of shorter pieces. So he's famous for writing Into Thin Air, Into the Wild, but this will be a lot more of his sort of newspaper works and other pieces to just try and pick up more. I think he is a fantastic writer, really kind of captures emotion in a nonfiction setting in a lot of these perilous human cases. And so trying to just pick up more on his ability and understanding and all of his writing. So excited to read this one. Not too long, so that's why I think this will be a good one, maybe in between reads or as a stopping point while I'm reading something else. Just kind of get through, you know, a bit, treat it like a short story book, I think is kind of how I'll treat this one. And finally, the one that was the main driver between me even, you know, for me to even wanting to write this is the selected writings of Jose Marti. And Jose Marti, the only reason I know anything about him is because of a Pete Seeger song called Guantanamera. And in this song, specifically the live version that I have, or I've listened to, he mentions a little bit of the backdrop of Jose Marti being from what is now Cuba, and being a part of sort of their push for independence, being exiled to New York City, writing lots of stories, poetry, and then coming back to Cuba and dying within the year in the uprising. So my understanding is he's a very, very famous Spanish author, specifically, I believe, poet. And so trying to just sort of understand this story, his writings, kind of seeing how that translates over, I think will be very exciting. So I guess, yeah, that's all I have today for these books. Obviously a big haul, and it's gonna take a while to get through them all, I know. But I think a lot of these, you know, being more on the nonfiction side or collections, right? Just sort of taking it piece by piece, not overwhelming myself. I'm over halfway done now with Crime and Punishment, loving that. So definitely going to be keeping up the reading pace and trying to keep reading a bunch of exciting pieces. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.